All right, again, guys, my name is Shelby Thomas, CEO and founder of the Ocean Rescue Alliance. We're a marine conservation and restoration nonprofit, and we focus on these waves of action to create sustainable restoration. We focus primarily on doing reef restoration on both natural reefs, but we also create complex artificial reef structure to supplement natural reef structure. We also engage art to help with supporting ecotourism and really connecting the public back to the ocean. We have different citizen science and education programs to really engage the public around every single site that we have, so you can come and monitor the reefs with us. But we also do a lot of things on land, from different educational workshops, beach cleanups, lots of ways to get engaged. Our alliance really builds different partnerships and collaborations to fill the gap within restoration. So for example, for coral, we work with all the nursery practitioners throughout South Florida, the Coral Restoration Foundation, Florida Aquarium, Seacore International, Moat, pretty much all of them based out of South Florida, to really scale up restoration with our technologies. We'll get into that a little bit later. And we continue to conduct research in the restoration field, from not only coral restoration, but also oyster and mangroves. We've also been focusing on doing seawall enhancements to really help create habitat and reinforce coastal infrastructure. And we use art and memorial reefs, again, to connect the public. So we are just moving into doing celebratory memorial reef options, where each one of you can create a custom reef that helps support fisheries for generations to come. So I know I'm preaching to the choir on this, since we're at a reef conference with both fresh and saltwater, but coral reefs are incredibly important for our marine ecosystems. They help prevent coastal erosion and provide habitat for fish species. They're actually one of the most biodiverse ecosystems in the world, and they're the lungs of the ocean. They help provide more oxygen than any of our land plants and trees on land. They also aid in facilitating nutrient cycling and could hold the future cures for our deadliest diseases. So there's a lot of problems plaguing our reefs, from pollution to ocean acidification, coral bleaching, and habitat degradation. And there's a lot of awareness built around these problems. But one of the things that's missing is that connection with people back to the ocean. The ocean can be out of sight, out of mind for many people, and it can be often viewed as a blanket of water. And in fact, the ocean is why we're able to live on Earth. It facilitates our weather patterns, and is really critical to why we're able to live here. So this is a big problem. There's a lot of disengaged people with the ocean and how critical it is to our life itself. And oftentimes people feel that the problem's too big to help, right? The ocean's large. There's a lot of problems that have to be halted to help mitigate corals dying. And there's also a lack of education and awareness. Some people may feel too small to help. But we're here to tell you that that's not the fact, and there's ways that you can directly engage. So if you guys have heard of artificial reefs, they've typically been different construction pilings, limestone boulders, ships, which are unique dive sites. But one of the inherent problems with artificial reefs are that they target large fish species. So it really isn't supplementing natural reef habitat. Those small fish species don't have any space to hide, and different life stages aren't supported with different habitat space. Some of these also can have non-eco-friendly materials that can degrade over time. And although they're awesome dive sites, they really only target specific fish sizes. And if any of you guys are familiar of this reef on the screen, this is the Osborne Tire Reef, which was one of the disaster artificial reefs from the 80s, where they sunk thousands of tires, and they've been trying to remove them ever since. And there's corals growing on some of these sites, and we're actually really excited. We just got a special activities license to rescue these corals off of these sites and put them on our artificial structures. So we'll be outplanting corals on the Thousand Mermaids site in July. There's also some other eco-art artificial reefs. This is the Jason DeCaris Taylor Reef out in Mexico, and he really utilizes art to bring awareness. But again, there's that inherent problem of not creating complex habitat. So we'll get into a little of what we do. So we create artificial reefs that mimic natural reef habitat with different shelves and interstitial spaces. As you can see on the screen, we create these small habitat spaces to help support smaller fish species and different life stages of fish. We also incorporate different restoration technologies like our coral lock, which I'll mention in a minute, which enables us to screw coral fragments right into our structures really easily and securely. We're using a pH-neutral concrete mix. We also incorporate organic minerals like calcium carbonate and basalt fibers to help increase natural coral recruitment to our structures. So this is some of our different designs. We have over 35 different artificial reef designs we've been monitoring for the last 2 years to track on doing different research on what kind of recruitment we're getting to these structures. So again, we're wanting to design reefs that are more biologically beneficial for the marine environments to help supplement those reefs. A lot of our restoration has everything we do in the world is typically reactive, right? And unfortunately, as our reefs are dying, we absolutely need to be taking action to really restore our reefs, but we also need to be creating supplemental structure. We need to be proactive and preventative and get out as much supplementary reef structure as we can to help support fisheries as well. So this is an image of one of our lower profile modules that I showed from that exact image of the reef habitat. This was only after 3 months after deployment. And I'm going to play this video really quick. So you can see some of the different sizes of fish on this structure. And all of those smaller habitat spaces really helps promote biodiversity, which is critical for ecosystems. Now we're having space for different sizes of fish as they grow. You can see some juvenile tangs here in the video as well. And then all those little circles you can see on this module is our coral lock, which I'll get to here in a minute. Another design that we're doing with artificial structures is our breakwater structure called a wave reduction module. We've been working with the University of Miami to create these wave reduction modules that reduce wave attenuation and help protect coastlines. So our ideal goal is to create these artificial reefs that are holistic, where each module has a different biological purpose. Some of these will help prevent coastal erosion and help really break down some of that storm surge, where others will help engage the public with different ecotourism and also targeting specific restoration, whether that's oysters or corals or mangroves, as well as creating fish habitat. So we really use art as a catalyst to connect people. We use that art as a problem solver to engage the public in a variety of different ways. Art can be utilized throughout history to really connect and engage communities. It's a universal language that can really inspire people. So we can create these unique art reefs that can be culturally and historically relevant to the area, but more importantly, really help facilitate making a unique site that brings awareness to these problems plaguing our marine environments while creating habitat and aiding in restoration. So the images you can see on the top of the screen is part of our 1,000 Mermaids project, where we sculpt people as mermaids to bring awareness to marine conservation. But more importantly, we're creating fish habitat and helping aid in coral restoration throughout South Florida. You can see some of our other artificial reef designs at the lower part of the screen, where we do different artistic designs to really engage the public. So we're now using the latest and greatest technology to use 3D scanning to take any image or person and create them into a reef. This right here is actually Emily Gugliano right here in front of us, the American mermaid, and she was our first mermaid for our artificial reef project off of Riviera Beach, Florida. So we actually 3D scanned her and turned her into that direct reef that you see in the bottom image that she was deployed this past November in 2020. And we're getting ready for our next artificial reef deployment. If you guys are here locally, July 15th, off of Dania Beach, Florida, we'll be deploying another 25 reef modules. So getting into the restoration a little bit more. The Coral Lock is one of our technologies that helps scale coral restoration. You can see in the top left image, this is our Coral Lock, which is a threaded frag plug receiver, which enables us to simply screw in coral fragments to different receivers on both natural and artificial reefs. And this really takes out the inherent problem most coral restoration is done by individually gluing each coral down with cements or epoxies. This can take a lot of time and resources, so now utilizing this technology, we can outplant hundreds of corals at a time versus the traditional methods. And again, we have a lot of different citizen science and education programs for the public to engage with, different workshops, beach cleanups, and much more. You can help and come out and monitor the reefs with us, really learn. We base everything on the fundamentals of science to really help promote really innovation and creating new innovative ways to address marine ecosystems. So we just started doing memorial and celebratory reef options, so each individual can help. You can celebrate a loved one or anniversary. In the bottom left corner, you can see one of our plaques that will actually outplant rescued corals right around. So those corals from that Osborne Tire Reef will be getting outplanted on our reef sites this July, and you can engage as well by purchasing a plaque that directly contributes to restoration. Or if you're interested, you can also create your own individual reef that will last for generations to come to support fisheries and help aid in restoration. This is one of our videos of our plaques, so let you see a little bit more of what we have underneath the water and ways that you guys can engage. Again, this is our 1,000 Mermaids site. So for any divers, we're located right off of Riviera Beach, Florida, so Palm Beach area. And we have about 85 modules out there currently, 35 mermaids, and the site's still continuing to grow. We also put down some different memorial reefs for our veterans. We have 5 different veterans memorial modules that we put down for each branch of the military, which we've been deploying plaques to help honor our veterans. And getting a little bit more to the research. So this is some of our Coral Lock technologies where we are outplanting corals on natural reef systems throughout the Florida Keys all the way up to Martin and Broward County. This is our dome Coral Lock base where we've outplanted Orbicella fabulata, also known as mountainous star coral. These corals are very endangered throughout the Florida Keys and have been impacted by stony tissue loss disease. What we're doing is taking the usage of microfragmentation, which you guys use in the hobby, and helping scale that to where now we can put out these structures and get the coral fragments to fuse over the unit. Now we're creating larger and more reproductive corals in a shorter amount of time. And this is critical because some coral species are actually size dependent for reproduction. So we really need these corals to be reproducing as we put them out on reefs. And as you can imagine, it would take a very long time, decades even, for each individual coral fragment to get to those base unit sizes. So now we're really able to help grow coral more rapidly with different restoration groups. This is one of our designs specifically for boulder corals, but we have different designs for different species like acroporids, staghorn, and elkhorn corals. Here's another image of us diving with the University of Miami. We put out another 6 different prototypes of new coral lock-based designs. You can see the one in the middle photo of the diver of the flower module is what we call it. That is for staghorn coral. So we're able to create thickets on top of that shelf, and the under space creates space for different invertebrates, where we actually translocated diadema sea urchins back to the reefs. So they actually are really critical from an ecological standpoint to really help maintain the algae on the coral reefs. And those populations actually were decimated back in the 80s. And we're currently working to couple our restoration efforts to be more holistic and really help support each other as an ecosystem. So getting into the Thousand Mermaids Reef. As I mentioned, this is one of our eco-art projects where we're really sculpting people as mermaids to bring awareness to marine conservation. This image on the right is our underwater selfie tail, so be sure to stop by our booth. You can take a picture in our selfie tail on land, but if you're a diver, come dive our site and take a picture and tag us. We have over 35 reef modules of mermaids at our artificial reef site now. Our goal is to get to 1,000 over time, and we're continuing to expand throughout Florida. Right now, our reef sites are on the East Coast, but we're looking to bring them over to the West Coast and also create some nearby snorkel reefs. So again, that 1,000 Mermaids project really helps facilitate habitat enhancement. It's outfitted to receive corals, so we're going to be outplanting corals this July, and helps facilitate ecotourism and bringing awareness to all the problems plaguing our marine ecosystems and ways people can help. It's also an excellent site to conduct research, as we have at the same exact site over 35 different types of structures that we're conducting research on for the last 2 years. And we engage different educational programs with both youth and the community. And it's a great collaborative site to really connect and engage with people of all ages and different institutions. This image is actually from 9 months post-deployment. And so this is the fun part. Every time you go to the site, something new's growing on it, and nature decorates it herself. I often get asked, oh, can you guys do pigmented reefs? We don't do that. We let nature decorate it, and we use that pH-neutral concrete, so there's no pigment needed, really, when deploying artificial reef structures. And so you guys can help us, and a part of our mission is saving our oceans one reef at a time. Our desire is to get out as much structure as we can, globally, to help really restore our ecosystems, and really shifting that public perception and bringing that relationship back personally to the ocean. So really encourage you to come stop by our booth. We just had it set up this morning where you can actually see hands-on of some of the different restoration technologies we have out in the ocean on the right there, and also ways that you guys can get engaged. I'm going to open up. You guys can also ask any questions, and feel free to email us at info@oceanrescuealliance.org or visit our websites for more information. We have a lot of upcoming events around the Dania Beach deployment, July 15th. This is a weather-dependent deployment. We need about 2 feet of seas or below to deploy our reefs, but we will be posting the definitive date a week out. So if you're interested in coming, you should be able to see the reef get deployed right off the beach. So we'll be having a lot of events right around that deployment, and we'd be happy to answer any questions that you guys have. Feel free to come by the booth. And since we have the mermaids here with us, I'd like Emily to talk a little bit more about your process of why you got involved with the project and what you're excited about with your artificial reef.
Hi guys, can you hear me? So my name is Emily Alexandra Guglielmo. I'm known as the American Mermaid, also formerly known as the Florida Mermaid. So I've done a lot of events all over, but I saw a new segment of Ocean Alliance and 1,000 Mermaids and what they were doing, and it's incredible. So I reached out to them and I said, how can I get involved? I'm being an ocean advocate as myself. I really wanted to do something that was helping the bigger picture. And it's incredible. It was so much fun. I went down to Boca and met Chris with Reef Cells, and he was so sweet. And just the process of laying, I don't know if you guys saw, but I laid on the table, and they went around me with this laptop of sort and digitally scanned me. And it was such a fun process. It was exciting. And we live streamed it too. Evan Snow with 1,000 Mermaids live streamed it. But every step of the process was it's been incredible, and I am so excited to go down and dive and see it myself down there for the first time, because I have yet to see it down there. So if you guys want to come with me, we can plan like a whole diving trip. I think Shelby was going to take me, so I'm just really honored to be a part of this. Thanks, guys.
And we actually have our next dive trip on June 19th is slated. We have a lot of local dive operators that go out there, so if you're familiar with the Riviera Beach area, we have over 3 dive operators that go to our sites regularly. So you can find that information on our website. And as Emily mentioned, we use that 3D scanning, and also we're trying to use more of the emerging technology to connect with the public. One thing that will be released this August is our virtual and augmented reality, which we'll be using as a lesson platform to teach about marine conservation. But now you'll be able to dive our sites from anywhere in the world on your computer, and it'll be an immersive experience to learn about marine restoration. You can outplant coral on your own artificial reef, build your own artificial reef from your computer, and really learn and engage. So really excited to be releasing that this coming August. And lots of other ways to get engaged. Feel free to contact us. And if anyone has any questions, I'd be happy to answer. Does it go in the tank? Is that your question? Do we have anything that goes in tanks? Yeah, so the one that you see on the screen is just our tabletop display. The ones we put in the ocean is made out of our pH-neutral concrete mix, so they're a lot heavier. Our artificial reefs can be about 2,000 to 10,000 pounds, so we need barges to move them out to the ocean with cranes. Yeah, so it's very similar to what's in the ocean. Yeah, and we are looking to bring a lot of different things to the hobby. As marine hobbyists, we are able to use these coral lock technologies even in our at-home aquarium. So if you come visit our booth, we actually have mini frag statues. That's a small replica of what we do in the ocean. So it has a fish habitat base. You can outplant your own coral on it, and it has an art piece. So we're looking to produce those. It's not ready yet, but if you're interested, we're taking a pre-order listing. And we're also going to be working with a few different companies to integrate the coral locks into rocks. So maybe you guys won't have to glue corals anymore. Any other questions? Well, feel free to stop by. Again, we're at the booth in the front, so I'd be happy to take any questions at another time. Come take a picture and tag us. Follow along for more information. Thanks, guys.